What's up everybody, my name is Francois and welcome to Sound Made Simple, the channel where we talk about everything PA, gear and sound related. In this video, we're going to be having a look at the basic components needed to create a PA system. You know, when you're just starting out in the world of PA and sound, things can be very overwhelming. It's just so much information, so many opinions, and it's just difficult to know what's important and what is not. For that reason, I've decided to create a 10-video mini-series that will hopefully help you guys better understand the basic components that you need to create a PA system and how to create a good mix. So without any further ado, let's get right into this video. Just a quick disclaimer, guys, before you go shouting at me in the comment section, just remember this video is aimed at the novice. It's for the person who's just starting out, maybe joined the technical team at church, maybe a band that is looking for a PA, they want to rehearse, they want to go on tour, the person who doesn't have much knowledge at this point. Just remember, this video is for you. All right, so let's start at the very beginning. What is a PA system and why do I need it? Well, PA is short for public address, and that just basically means taking whatever is happening on stage and projecting it to an audience, making it clear and audible for everybody to hear. Let's just make a note here. Volume is not everything. Sometimes too much volume can be a bad thing. Just think about people in a conference room, maybe just 20 people sitting there. You don't want to blow their ears off. You just want to project the person that's speaking to them so that it is audible. It's a different story if you're outside at a big concert. Yes, their volume is very important, but one must remember you're aiming for clarity and not always just for volume. So let's break it down. What do I need to create a PA system? Well, you need 4 things. Firstly, we have the microphone. Secondly, you need a mixer. The third thing that you would need is an amplifier. Lastly, number 4 is you would need speakers to project to the crowd. So let's have a closer look at all of these components. So firstly, we have the microphone, and they come in all shapes and sizes, but what do they really do? Well, they're there to capture the source or to capture the sound on stage, and this could be many things. It could be just somebody singing, it could be a drum kit, it could be an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar playing through an amp, really any sound that you need to capture. The job of the microphone is to convert the sound wave into electrical signal, which is basically the start of the signal flow for your PA. Although there are many different microphones used for many different things, you can break them down into 2 main categories. The first category is the dynamic microphone. Dynamic mics are extremely versatile. They are very durable and they can handle a lot of level or sound pressure level, which just basically means they can handle a lot of volume. This makes them an ideal choice for loud environments, which is basically a stage. The second category would be condenser microphones. Condenser microphones are much more accurate, they're much more sensitive, and they can handle a lot more information. But for this reason, they aren't always as nice to use in live environments. They work a lot better in controlled environments like studios, but there are exceptions to this. A great example of this is that engineers would often use small pencil condenser microphones to mic up the cymbals of a drum kit. Condenser microphones also need phantom power, but that is something that we will be covering in the next video within this 10-video series. When talking about microphones, there are also other aspects that we need to consider. Where you place your microphone is also very important, and that will have a big impact on the sound. Remember, microphones can also be wireless. Wireless microphones give you some freedom as you can move around and you're not constricted by a cable, but you do need a bit more gear to make this possible. For this reason, it is also a great choice specifically for vocalists and any artist on stage that needs to be moving around. As mentioned, we will be covering all of this in the next video in much more detail. Next in line, see what I did there, is the mixer. The mixer is basically the brains of your operation. This is where all the signal comes together, where you can change the balance, where you can change the tone and change the EQ, and send it off to all the correct places. In most venues, you will find one of two kind of mixers. The first is the analog mixer, or the old school mixer. This still offers you faders and knobs, and it's very hands-on in terms of its controls. The second, and it's become much more popular these days, is the digital mixer. The reason for this is that it offers you a lot more control. You can be a lot more precise in your EQs, and it also offers you a lot more options in terms of effects and presets. Another very, very valuable feature is that you can save your scenes and actually recall them at a later stage. Most digital mixers are also remote controllable, which means you can control them with something like a cell phone or a tablet from distance. So what role does a mixer actually play? Well, firstly, we have signal routing, and that basically means that you are taking different sources and sending them to different places. A great example of this is a vocal coming into the mixer that you can send back to the artist itself and also to the front of house PA for the audience. It also helps with sound design, and that just basically means EQing and balancing things out the way that you as engineer like it. Lastly, it helps you to add effects like reverb and delay, which gives your mix a very professional and well-rounded sound. As with all the other components, we will be covering this in much more detail in one of the later videos in this series. Next, we have the amplifier. The amplifier takes the level coming from the mixer, which is called line level, and that is not strong enough to drive a speaker, and then amplifies it to a level which can actually drive the speaker and project the sound to the audience. The amplifier can be found in three different places. Firstly, we have what's called the powered or active mixer. This basically means that the amplifier is built into the mixer, and the signal from the mixer gets routed to the amplifier within the same box. Secondly, we have a separate loose amp unit. Here we have a lot more options to choose from, as powered mixers have become, well, almost a thing of the past. Lastly, you will also find the amplifier inside of the speaker itself. This is then called an active or a powered speaker. This has become extremely popular, and there are plenty of options on the market for you to choose from. Remember that you cannot send powered signal, which is signal coming from an amplifier, to another amplifier. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that, and you will damage the amplifier next in line. When you are looking for an amplifier, you have to keep in mind that you have to buy the correct one for the gear that you already have. You have to match your amplifier to your speakers. We will be covering amplifiers in a lot more detail in video number 4 within this series. Last but not least, we have the speakers. The speaker takes the electrical signal that has been coming all the way from the microphone and turns it into a sound wave and projects it to the crowd. Although speakers come in many different sizes, there are 3 main kinds of speakers that we will be having a look at in this series. Firstly, we have the full range speaker, generally found between an 8-inch to a 15-inch. It's called a full range speaker because it produces quite a full range of frequency. The idea is that this speaker will produce the low end, the mid-range, and the highs, also called treble. The second is the subwoofer. The subwoofer is often found at large PA and large venues, and also in home theater systems. The subwoofer is built to concentrate on the low end. That is what it does very, very well. You will often find that your full range speaker is being used in conjunction with a subwoofer. This allows the PA to cover a wider frequency range, giving you more volume and more clarity. Last but not least, we have monitors. A monitor is a speaker placed on the floor specifically to play back at the musicians so that they can hear what they are doing. And believe me, they want to hear what they are doing. These days, most companies have switched over to full range speakers for monitors. Remember that speaker placement is very, very important. Speaker placement would depend on the venue and the desired result. If you already have an amplifier and you are looking to buy passive speakers, remember that you need to match this to your amplifier. You need to have a look at the impedance and also at the watt rating. Remember to choose the correct speaker for your needs. As an example, if you just want to have a small little PA in a conference room, then you can have a small full range speaker. If you have a big outdoor concert, you would most likely not use a small full range speaker. You would use a line array that is built to project sound over great distance. We will also be discussing this in much more detail in some of the coming videos in this series. If you guys feel like you've learned something from this video, please remember to subscribe to this channel and like this video, as it will help me produce a lot more great content. Alright, so let's break this down with a practical example. A great choice is always a vocalist on stage. Firstly, you would need the microphone to capture the voice and turn the sound wave into an electrical signal that can flow through the PA. Secondly, you would need the mixer. The signal would flow from the microphone to the mixer. From here, it will be sent to front of house, which is the main PA, and also back to the musician so that he can hear what he is doing. With the mixer, you will also balance out the sound and this vocal between all the other instruments, and also add some effects like delay or reverb. Next in line, you would have the amplifier. The amplifier would take signal coming from the mixer, which is called line level, and it'll amplify it to speaker level. Lastly, you will have your speaker in whatever shape or form you have chosen. The speaker will then take the electrical signal coming from the amplifier and turn it back into a sound wave and project it to the audience. This, in a nutshell, is the basic components of a PA system. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how this all fits together. Remember, we will be covering all of these components in much more detail in the videos to come. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please stick around and I'll see you at the next one.